So this is the Defiant show. We had a unique opportunity because I've got 3 people in the same building with me that have all got views and experience and just some like really cool things to talk about within the CrossFit space. So rather than just do it with Jamie, we've got Gareth from CrossFit UK, got Elliot from Project, and then Jamie, as mentioned, from Method. So it's a bit on the fly, so there isn't much of a plan, but that's how most of my podcasts go anyway. It's just a bit of nonsense, and then we hope for best. So if you're happy to roll with that, we'll go. So I think the first thing I wanted to do is talk about like the Open, and I feel like, and I'll let you guys then roll with it. I feel like CrossFit's kind of getting its mojo back a little bit. The Open was like, the sign-ups, although they were down, were way up on what was anticipated at one point. They nailed the media.
Yeah, the media was good.
They like, the announcements, like Froning coming back and beating Krennikov, and then, but also the last one with 3 of the best athletes in the space going toe-to-toe. And then with an elite NFL quarterback, like getting filled in by him, it showed how much more dominant CrossFitters are, which they should be, I guess, because he trains for a different thing, but it still demonstrated that pretty well.
If they did American football, it might have been the other way around.
Yeah, probably.
I think I saw a clip of them the next day at an American football field, just getting schooled by.
Yeah.
It's like, cool, there's some balance there. I like that.
But it's just like everything was, I don't know, for once it seemed like everything went well, it went how we all wanted it to. So I'll come to you first, because obviously you've got a unique position within CrossFit UK. How do we, as a community, build on that momentum that CrossFit has generated positively for once?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I think the Open does a fantastic job, and especially the Open this year did a fantastic job of bringing the community together again. So we've got all these separate gyms all over the country, all over the world, and the Open's the one time of the year where we all lean in and do the same thing. So I think if we talk to UK and Ireland specifically, if affiliate owners can lean into each other and help each other and support each other, it helps the community grow even bigger. Even today, I've been here for a couple of days, and in January we've been chatting about things. Hopefully you feel the same. We've both grown from those conversations for our businesses. Same this morning with Joe. There's been some chats, and hopefully find some of the
Yes.
Elliot.
I'll say it.
Do you know what? Yeah. I thought, shit, I
thought you meant Joe. Joe, Elliot.
See, you know what? You've demonstrated how well we've grown as a community. We're not going to change names.
Yeah, hopefully Elliot's got something out of the conversation we had this morning.
It's like, shit, I'd be cool.
Elliot.
So you know what? I managed to do every single one of your coaches with the right name for the last 2 days. Sorry. Yeah, leaning in so we can grow together.
Agreed.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think it's one opportunity every year where it feels sometimes that like affiliates are all over the country, like doing their own thing. It's not a opportunity where everyone comes together and does the same thing. And although we're not doing it in the same place, it feels like you're doing it with those people.
Yeah.
How do you, I guess, probably, I don't know if it's a difficult question to answer. How do you do that? How do you bridge that gap outside of the Open? How can, I guess, you guys at CrossFit UK have like everybody coming to you and you have like the overarching sort of message to deliver to affiliates, but how can, I guess, I've got a brand and a small podcast, might explode after this one, and these guys have got gyms with massive communities. How do we sort of bridge that gap and be more together outside of things like the Open?
So I think it can start quite a local level to start with. Picking up the phone to the affiliate that's nearest you, have a conversation with them, and then from there maybe build that conversation. What we're trying to do across the UK is unite people more. So things like the WhatsApp community, so there is more chances for affiliate owners to communicate with each other. The roundtables that we're launching, the gatherings that we're trying to do, having presence at events sort of all over the country, things like Strength and Depth. So we're trying to get out into the community more so that they've got more chances to gather amongst themselves and therefore help each other at the same time.
Yeah. Do you do that? Do you like speak like frequently to the gyms in and around this area? Have you got like those relationships?
Got a good relationship with Jordan, and
Jordan Tyneside.
Jordan's Tyneside. He's hilarious. Like, it's always a good laugh when he comes over. Just go for the coffee. But he's like super busy. His gyms plural are thriving. So we catch up when we can. But we never used to have that relationship. It was always very us and them, pretty bit of animosity. But actually, it only took like getting together and knowing that we share all the same problems, and we can kind of connect on that. And it's not we aren't dipping from the same client pool. His clients over there are not going to come over here. Pretty much like location is the issue, really. Like, there's a 45-minute drive between our two places when it's rush hour. And once we got past that, we actually started to unite and do some really cool stuff. It actually kicked off because he poached one of my members of staff, actually, Jordan, one of my best members of staff. And, it was a good, after I calmed down, it was a good point to kind of meet up and sort of chat and get through things, go through things together. And actually, we do a competition every year called the Bridges, where we link up the two gyms and say, you guys are from Tyneside, we're from Method. We mix the teams together, so you have to work together, and it's absolutely such good fun. And I think this year potentially we might extend that out and try and get some of the gyms within the area to do it. And it'd be amazing if we could get at least 4, and then it could be like,
Team of 4, one for each gym. Yeah,
right.
that's cool.
And try and just like work together on it. Everyone's super busy, so we'll have to sort of see how it works out for timings, but that would be great.
And do you think, have you seen a benefit to that? Because obviously you do it with CrossFit Buxton and Gloucester. You've got a little community.
Yeah, so we have a little collaboration with Buxton and Gloucester, which aren't dead close. Gloucester's probably an hour away from us. Buxton's probably 45 minutes away. We have a little collaboration membership, so if you're a member at one, you can access classes at fairly flights. Obviously, if you're travelling, people work that way, there's an opportunity to use CrossFit Buxton as a project member and vice versa kind of thing. We honour that for them and they honour it for us. So we're trying to do a bit together there. And obviously we've got a close relationship with the 17 as well, and Mansfield. We go to their invitation every year and stuff like that.
Yeah. Do you think like it becomes like, do you think people that are insecure about what they're delivering in their business are never going to be able to sort of bridge that gap? Because I find on the scene when I was going out with the brand, there's some like vendors that just wouldn't even look at you when you walked in, whereas others that help you carry your boxes to car. And I was helping carry boxes because I thought, like, if one does better, we'll do better. And do you think it takes that sort of, rather than being threatened by these people, we're in a very niche community, whereas, like I think you might have said it before, like a rising tide, right? Rises all ships or whatever.
Yeah.
Butchered that. But you know what I mean? It's like, how do you sort of get through to people to kind of show them that?
I think it's a leadership thing, and it has to be driven, like everything in this industry. The leader at the top of the tree needs to be the one that's going out there, making that phone call, swallowing a little bit of pride if they need to, and having that conversation with people. I don't think anyone's going to do it for you. If you own an affiliate and you're nervous about picking up the phone to the affiliate down the road, what's the worst that's going to happen? Like, you're not going to bridge that gap and then suddenly your business is going to explode because of it. I'm a big believer in servant leadership, and leadership is vital to your business.
So I don't feel like I know for sure, but you guys obviously take responsibility for your shit, so you might not have the same opinion, but do you think, from a CrossFit UK point of view, the gyms that maybe aren't doing all the right things and taking responsibility, do you think they're the ones that are looking at CrossFit UK and wanting more from CrossFit as an organisation to help them do what the fundamentals of what they should be doing anyway? You know what I mean? Or do you think like it's quite varied?
I think it's varied across the country. I want every affiliate to lean into us as much as we can. Like we were saying this morning, like the phone's always on, the email's always there. If you're having a problem, reach out to us before that problem becomes so big we can't contain it. And if making connections, if we're talking about gyms connecting with each other is something you're struggling with, reach out and we can help you make those connections. You know, we host these roundtables every week, and they've helped connect, I think, about 80 different affiliates now across the country that probably wouldn't have been connected before. It all comes from Blina. They need to reach out and ask for help if they need it.
You know, on these roundtables, I've never actually done one, but apart from ours, you know, like the first one, but bar that, does someone host it?
Yes, me and Andy typically host
Right.
it. Yeah, so a little bit of an evolution from the first one that we started. Me and Andy will kind of take it in turns to host it. We typically will ask what people are working on. Then we'll progress into like any pain points, and then anything we can do to help them.
What?
So that's kind of the format. So it's always good because you get everyone will speak about what they're working on, and you can literally see people. It gives, sometimes we've been able to help people with things like buying power. So 2 or 3 affiliates want the same thing. Cool, let's connect you guys together so you can get a better deal on that. And it's always cool to find out what people are listening to, what people are working on. 10 brains a better than one, right? So,
So what, you know, like as affiliate owners, I'll let you both go one after the other. What is there anything more you feel like you need from CrossFit UK? Not to be awkward.
No, we talked about it in the 90s. I don't think so. I think the resources that are put out are like incredible compared to what we had previously. Don't think people really remember what it was like in the early days. There wasn't even a scaled division in the open. It was like, right, you can't do a ring muscle, okay?
See you later.
See ya. Done. You know, it's come a long way to make it more accessible and more user friendly. 10 years ago, if you said there was a starter guide, playbook, programming, it would have just been like, this is just incredible. So it's come a long way from what it was initially. I think people need different things at different times. What works at 100 members doesn't work as well at 150, and doesn't work at all at 200 in some things. And then I think connecting people who've potentially been through those like 50-member blocks is really useful. Trying to get that information. And we literally talked about it upstairs, like before. Like I think there's a lot of lessons learned on the way through these stages that seem quite consistent by the time you get to like the 10-year point. To be honest, I'm sure the guys up at Glasgow are probably looking, going, you know, wait for what's happening on year 15 and 16, like, and all the rest of that. Like we're yet to come across that. But leaving like a trail of breadcrumbs for the next lot is really useful. So I think, in short, I don't think that there's a huge amount that I would ask for extra from CrossFit UK. I think the resources and the things that we have currently are very, very good, and let's just use them to the fullest.
It's application.
Yeah.
I think that like the resource that's provided is there to use. It's just the application of it, the people that are then accessing it and then using it. I think that's where it's the breakdowns. But sometimes you've got to take ownership of that. And I just echoing what Jane said then. We were having a conversation about, like, if you had different information, like we opened 7 years ago, we made decisions 7 years ago based off the information we had at that very moment. And perhaps you look back now and you're almost paying for those decisions further down the line, because someone probably had that same issue that could have, like, if it was not as disjointed as such, like putting those people in the same room together to go, that's probably not a good idea. Probably want to avoid trying to do that kind of thing. Like James said about the blocks of the membership blocks, perhaps what works when you first open doesn't work 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line. Maybe trying to get those groups of people together. And obviously try and help those newer affiliates or affiliates that are going to open up to go, that's not a good idea to do that kind of thing. This is why there's a bank of evidence that supports them.
Yeah. Think about the topics though that we'll all talk about in relation to that. So like we all have gyms. We've all been 7
7 in there.
nearly 11,
13.
13. Discounts, yes or no?
No.
No. Specialty programming?
Not really.
No.
Nope. I don't think so. Open gym membership?
Nope.
Nope, definitely not. What else have we got? Competitive programming?
No.
Nope.
No.
You know, all these things that are like shiny stuff, and we're like, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. And you can kind of, we've all been through the hard yards to figure out why these things are, and we can tell. Do you think they have to just learn from themselves that to go through that, or do you think we could? I don't know. It's all stuff we talk about.
Yeah, it's all stuff you talk about, and I think, you mentioned some of the things that are available in that toolkit now, and you get, if you're a brand new application, you get access to that toolkit, right? So before you even open your door, you can get in there and you can see business plans, social media plans. You get access to all the recorded webinars and roundtables and stuff. It's an awful lot of work for any single person to do.
It is.
And I think when you've been doing it a long time, it's easy to look back and see your mistakes, but maybe not always remember where you were in that time that you made that mistake. So, open gym membership, or maybe actually you had 10 people saying, hey, I'll pay you 50 quid a month, and that £500 would be the first money you would ever take from the business.
Yeah.
So, the lessons are there for people to learn, but it's about sort of trying to meet them where they're at the time, and not let them do anything that will shoot them in the foot with too big of a hole.
Yeah.
And I think some people they listen to your advice, don't they? And then they're like, it'll be different from
It's not my situation.
Yeah.
It's a different locations, a different demographic.
Yeah.
But we are all in different locations, different demographics.
And we're all doing the same things.
And you talk to the other guys who've been doing it like for a longer period of time, and we've all been through the mistakes of doing that stuff, and we used to be like, oh, such a headache, such a headache. I think on the other side, hijack this, like if you think those were the don'ts, like those are the things that we say we probably wouldn't do, or we'd advise other people not to do. The do's: cleaning schedule.
Yeah.
Professionalized coaching.
Yeah.
I like it.
Procedures.
Right,
everything you do down, even if it's just a rough note on your phone, like you can polish it afterwards.
Coaches do classes.
Clients
like
do classes.
It's not the glittery stuff, though, is it?
No, it's not sexy.
Yeah, it's not the shiny
it's
stuff.
like
The don'ts are the shiny stuff. The do's are the things that.
track your numbers, reporting.
Yeah. Have a P&L.
Yeah. Talk to your accountant.
Alex Mosey on the podcast were talking about that. He was talking about everything is completely scripted, from the most simple thing right down to the most complex, but it's all clearly documented. And he said, then you give it to people. People are set up for success. They know exactly how they're expected to act. And that's a reflection of you. And you've developed that standard over years of operating businesses. So it's like, it's vitally important, isn't it? But it's just so easily overlooked.
Yeah.
Because look, we were talking earlier, weren't we? Like, you can make allowances for a lot of things, but when you talk then about a cleaning schedule, there's no excuse for a gym to be dirty. Like, that is just laziness. Then that is massively important. You do a burp on the floor and you get up covered in dog hair.
On your new white tee.
Perfect. Didn't have this on workout. We're not let truth get away with the story. But it is those things that cost nothing. And if you get the stuff right that costs nothing, then the value starts to create itself, doesn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
I think capitalization in the beginning is a tough one, because if someone comes in and they've got a good amount of working capital behind them, money can make problems go away. So like you can keep the place clean because you might have enough leftover capital to kind of get someone in to help with that. But like, don't know about you guys, it's probably exactly the same. On a Saturday, do the morning classes. It's like there was no one else to do them, so you do them. And then there was a little hose pipe at the back of the gym there, and you used to run it through to like connect to a brush and do the floor and like mop it and do it. And like, that was back breaking, but until we could afford the rotor wash and the machines that would do it. But the alternative was don't do it and have a shitty service. Like, I think having more capital, working capital is going to make more problems disappear.
Like any business, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The more money you can throw at a problem, the easier that problem becomes.
Where do you start with? Do you remember?
What? For cleaning?
Capital.
Oh, right.
Well, I think it's all been just generated as
We were laughing about this the other day. I started with 20 grand. That was what I could get out of my flat. Right, to start with this. I think if you try to do that now, I don't know if it's as possible on that value.
No, but I think that's a good point. I think
It's changed.
people can spend money on things that they don't need. I would, so you know, if the GM of Second City ever comes to me and says, "Oh, hey, can I have this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, cool. You still want it tomorrow?" And that'll be everything. You know?
Will you say that to me, please? The next day, 'cause I'm pretty bad for that.
Yeah.
What
like,
impulse buy?
if she wants something, she has to wait 24 hours. If she still wants it after that, then cool, we buy it.
It's a good one.
I had that policy when I used to gamble. I didn't want to gamble online because it was too easy. So I had to go to a bookies and I had to walk. So did I really want to gamble?
Yeah.
I stopped gambling. I still walk though. I walk past the bookies.
It's amazing what steps you can put in to make
Yeah.
something a bit harder.
Yeah.
That will stop you doing it, right?
Yeah. That's a funny one as well. On that list. Jerk blocks.
Yeah.
No, we've got players.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not even in the gym anymore.
Yeah.
Just in the container.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Multiple GHDs.
Yeah.
But they were all on the shopping list to start
They
with,
were.
weren't they? You know? And it's like,
Sure,
I do not need this.
But they're the things that people, I don't know. If you're going into a gym just to, I don't know, for show rather than to actually
It's
get
like
fit,
substance.
they're the things you want to see. Whereas you just show me an echo bike and a floor to do some burpees that's clean, and I'm happy.
And probably 99% of the people that walk in there don't know what the JSD is anyway.
No.
Just look at it and go, what's
You
that?
got a Dan Shafiq, CrossFit Louvre has a fantastic line. Every square foot has to pay for itself.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. So the footprint of a jerk block, the footprint of a GHD, that is now gone. So that area is now not making you any money.
Yeah.
So maximizing the potential out of each square foot. And it's easy math to do. You take your brain, you take your utilities, you work out what each square foot makes you. That can then help you plan, set your gym up, what you purchase, what you put in it.
And then, but that's a hard-earned lesson, isn't it? That's a lesson from like us all, like all of us making mistakes. Like I had a set of jerk blocks. I really liked my jerk blocks. Like I thought they were great, but they were terrible for cannibalizing space. Like I mean, I loved using them, but there was no information about that when we got going. You know, on the L1, there's nothing about usable floor space, gym layout, and it's a fantastic course. It's the best course in the world. I've said it so many times, but that's not in it, and I wonder whether more conversations about that stuff in the beginning, or maybe you're just so caught up in the fact that the way you're going to now teach your air squat and your deadlift and your press is going to change the world, that it doesn't matter about that sort of stuff. I don't know, but I think it's useful information, isn't it? The utility of the dumbbell and the barbell and the kettlebell, it just gives you so many options for such a small footprint.
It's the conversation that we're on. Like everyone gets into it, it's the enjoy the thing and the coaching of it. No one starts an open gym for the other side of stuff. And it's almost two different beasts, isn't it? Completely.
Skill set.
Oh yeah, massively. No, I was the same with the Defiant code, because when recently in the last 7 or 8 months when Tori came on board, she's like marketing and business specialist, and I'd treat it as a hobby. So she was like, "Why are you sending this out of every part?" I was like, "Oh, because it's nice." She went, "You do realise it costs X, and therefore it detracts from this and that."
Yeah.
And it's those things like I wanted, when I first started, it's to brand the inside of the tees. And it used to cost us more money, and then because it was on the inside and you had to wash the tees inside out, it rubbed off. I still wanted to do it. It's like you learn over time where the value is, don't you? It is hard when you want everything to be like shiny and different. And
You definitely do, and I think the things we're talking about here on however many years we've been doing it relative to us individuals, they will change in the next even year. Like we might sit down again and be like, "Oh, bring back the jerk blocks.
I guess then that's a good point. So stuff in business and in fitness and in everything changes so quick. So how do you stay up to date? How do you, when you're working so hard in your business, you forget to work on it, which we're all guilty of. But how do you do that when, like, you know, you're putting out fires here, fire there? How do you keep your eye on what's coming as opposed to just dealing with what's happening?
How do you be proactive instead of reactive?
Yeah. Because it's that tipping point, isn't it? Like, to be truly proactive, you have to have almost people in place that are doing the firefighting, but then you can't get the people in place doing the firefighting until you become proactive. And it's like, what's that tipping point? How do you take that plunge?
A lot of work,
Yeah,
a lot of hours.
a great team, a good team behind you. You know, I think we were talking about it this morning, like the staff, the team, the succession plan they have, so they're with you for 10 years, not 1 year, is vital so you can work on the business and not in the business.
So do you think you have to maybe almost take a little bit of a gamble on yourself and say, right, this is going to maybe cause a little bit of short-term pain, but the long-term benefits of it are going to be great. So therefore, let's deal with it now because I believe in what we're doing and it will generate benefit.
I don't think it's short term. I think it's long term pain.
For long-term
I think
gain.
it's long. I think it's never. You know, I don't know about you guys, but I don't think there's a working week here if it's not 60 hours. And you can count the moment when you like sit in your coffee and you open your phone and there's something kind of going on. You never really truly off. It's pretty much 24/7. Like unless you're asleep, unconscious. Like it's just not. It's not off. But I think on that subject, you do need to do enough to get yourself through that stage of being able to build enough revenue and enough leftover capital to bring people in.
Yeah,
and that's a painful process, like because you're not going to work 40 hours a week for that. So way more than that.
So do you think, like, even if you get to a point where you've put all the procedures and processes in place, because of how you're wired and how you're wired, and obviously you are, that you'll still want to do more anyway? Do you think, like, you couldn't just, the gym could run itself, and then what are you going to do? You're going to need something, aren't you? And I think people that are that way, they can't just sit and do nothing, regardless of how well something's going.
No, one of the things that my business partner tells me off all the time is to doing things that we've got a GM to do. All the time is like, that's not your job, but that's what she's there for. And she's, better than me a lot of it. So get out of your own way sometimes.
Yeah. Which is difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Especially like when you've grown it from such a small kind of like baby. Do you know what I mean? And you've seen it grow and you put all the hard yards in early doors to get it to where it is now. It's difficult to, like you say, turn it off, let go, give that responsibility to someone else and entrusting them to do it how you want it to be done, kind of thing. You almost become the manager of that, making sure that it gets done how you want it to be done.
And that all comes from developing the right
Yeah.
culture, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. 100%.
Yeah, I think we all just need to keep an eye on what does Dan do. Yeah. What does Dan do?
Yeah.
That should be a motto.
How many members is there? How does that
Across
even...
the 3 sites,
Right.
you're closer to 6.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, it's just huge.
And how big are the sites? How big?
CrossFit Louvre 2 in Bordeaux is quite big. It's a multi-floor facility.
Well, it's quite big. Like, how many classes do they have on a day?
But then Move 1, the amount of classes is insane.
Louvre 1 is, doors are open. I think they've got a 5 a.m. Don't quote me on this. And then it is hour.
But even like it's like an L shape, isn't it? So like we were working out on the L this side, and there was another class starting on the L on this side. So it's like back and forth, like almost on the half hour changes. And if you go, there's nowhere to do a muscle up because the ceiling height's too low. I don't know that. I mean, I'm only little. Like I could probably put a barbell overhead. You won't. like it's probably going to knock out the roof if you do. Like the facility, and there's like drop pads because they're like right like 2 streets back, literally from the museum. Like it's super central Paris. But we said it day one when we met, like when we were talking about it here, the experience is unbelievable. It's not about the facility and not about that. It's a nice facility, but it's not like it doesn't sell itself off that. It sells itself off the experience, and you have to go and see it. So I think what I was getting at with that is he's gone through all the pain points that we are about to hit. I think the next pain point that we will probably all start to get to, if we haven't already, is that we've got like an owner, founder, shareholder, whatever we've got up here. And then if we've got a team here, then we're the manager. If we've got a manager, then we've got one layer of management, then we've got a team. And then they'll be able to look after those guys. But I think things start to fall apart when one person has to have more than like 10 to 12 direct reports. So what do you do when you start to get to 20 people? Do you need a shift manager? Do they report to the general manager who reports to you? And then we're into like business building, aren't we? You know, like he's got 50 staff.
Yeah, 49 staff or something.
Yeah. So there has to be layers because you can't have 49 to 1. That person's literally going to die if they have 49 to 1. Their head's going to fall off.
Yeah.
So you need to start then building in tiers of management. And Glassman said it. He said like finding those people, like a bricklayer isn't necessarily a good manager of bricklayers. And then you might even get an even worse bricklayer who's a manager of bricklayer managers.
Yeah.
You know? And as you go further up the tier, you might get someone who's brilliant at their skill set, and you've moved them further up on like chronological hierarchy, and they might fall to bits.
Yeah.
And you got to. It's difficult. No one's going to like tell you these things.
No. But these are the pain points that we might be talking about in 5 years' time, right?
Hopefully, you know, if all's going
A
well.
slightly different vantage point.
Yeah. And we need the people like Dan to pave the way for us.
Yeah.
We need that. He is such a valuable resource, and the other guys that have got there, like we need to lean on them, and then we can try and not make as many mistakes that they did. Yeah.
And do we think then, like moving forward, like obviously we're in the process of everyone's saying CrossFit selling. Is this a critical time for CrossFit then? Because for us to get those assistance to people like that in the space, like is this a very important sale, or do you think it didn't matter if it's in private equity again as opposed to someone that's passionate about it?
Really important sale,
Yeah,
isn't it?
it's
I think it's important, but I also think the coaches and players aren't changing.
Yeah.
So when Man U gets sold, the coaches and players aren't changing. So it's the same output. But yeah, it is important.
So I guess we've covered quite a bit there, so I'm pretty happy. But one thing I just wanted to ask, I don't know if you'll have an answer for this, mate, is, you know, like we've seen CrossFit lean into more on social media, have a bit more fun, collaborate with a few more people. Do you think moving forward, I guess we don't know until it's sold, but now is the strategy to try and lean on the community as much as the community leans on them? And what I mean by that is, you know, in the past they've been very protective of the intellectual property, which they should be, but I've had a cease and desist before for hashtagging CrossFit on a post, you know, and that's like because I'm a brand, and it's things like that. Obviously I get that, but we're doing this affiliate series that we, you know, it's going to be great content for CrossFit UK to share. Do you think there's going to be a little bit more of a lapse in those like really strict rules of who they can and can't collab with when people in the space are constantly creating great content that tells this amazing story and message that CrossFit needs to get out there?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's something that is 100% above my pay grade. So I'm not answering for it. And that's not because
You got splinters in your ass in that sense, mate.
it's not because I know the answer and I'm not giving it. I genuinely don't know.
It seems to have relaxed a little with how they're doing stuff, and it'd be good for that to continue. Obviously, they still got to protect it to a point because that is everything. But, you know, things like that, brands in the space trying to, you know, make the space grow and do stuff. I think it's important to lean into that as opposed to like, yeah, I've had two seasons. One at Defiant Games and one for that in the back. So like the first one I got absolutely shit myself as well. Like, oh my god, I'm going to jail. And then I realised I just had to remove a hashtag from my post.
Isn't it? Like that, and then that's, I guess that's the effect that they want when you get like the letterhead and they want action.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think whoever is doing the social media output at the moment,
Brilliant. What's good?
so good.
Yeah.
Like the announcement stuff, like the almost like comic book style. Yeah, it's mint. It's really, really good, and I think that's getting back to what we used to see back in like 2016, 2017, didn't we? When there was like the road to the game series and stuff like that. Like we all look back at that and go like, how good was that?
Yeah.
We almost were. We were ahead. CrossFit was so ahead of the game with leveraging technology and media. And I don't know who that was down to. I don't know whether that was that. I don't know who it was. Tony Budden, was he the media guy? The guy who went up from the grid.
It rings a bell.
Yeah.
Prince Savant.
Savant, yeah, he had a big part to play in this. But they were like ahead of the game in utilising technology because, even like early 2000s when you're putting out your workouts on the internet, like, and YouTube, what kicked off in, I don't know when it kicked off, like 2005 to 10 or something like that. And they were leveraging that early. They were ahead of the game. And now feel like with the media output, like dropping back behind it, it would be, I think it's good.
Do you think like the media output, obviously it did drop off, but do you think now like, I don't know, there's very few characters in the sport, like the people want to tell the story. You look at Colton Mertens and people like that, Austin Hatfield coming through. They're cool and interesting and real. But the rest, a lot of them now, it's like they're so worried about sponsors and all that, they don't give you any of the real self. So I don't want to hear this story because it's like just mechanical. It's almost like they're saying what they think people want to hear.
Yeah.
Like it was the same in the Open when all the people decided they weren't doing the Open. They waited so late in the day so they were safe and they were protected by the mob and the herd that they didn't do it. And do you think that don't play into it? Because nobody wants to go and put a mic under someone's mouth that's just going to say the same shit everyone else is. But you're putting it under Colton straight away, aren't you? Because it's just interesting.
His thing that he put out, where it was like a day in the life, and he was like doing the pig farm and that stuff. He was like marching about in wellies, and then he would go and like smash out this like workout and stuff. Like they're the things that I think people like really connect to that person, and I do think. Has that dropped back? I mean, it has to go out.
Yeah. They buy into the story, don't they?
Yeah.
That, like, you get behind them for that reason.
Yeah.
Like going back to behind the games thing. Was it behind the games? Road to the games thing. Like, it wasn't necessarily about, it was about what they were doing on a daily basis. That was the interesting part of people. That's why you got behind those characters, like your Ben Smiths and your people like that.
But look at the success of things like Drive to Survive and Full Swing and all these ones. The actual event, the F1 or the Masters Golf Championship is such a small part of it.
Yeah.
It's what they're doing with their family, what they're doing in their training, and that's the stuff. Like if we look at the viewership and what that does for the sport, we need more stories like that. And I think that's potentially the best way to utilise the game season, like get that media out, because it was so good.
And it's finding them people in the Colton Mertens. I mean, like the three that did the open 25.
They're just mates going against each other.
Like that little cohort of like, and that's what gets you fight. Like I watched that one with like so much intent. I was so interested to see, and that was like I always say we talk about it a lot, don't we? About sometimes you watch like open announcements and they almost like. They make it look easy to the point where you think, I'll be alright tomorrow. I'll get to go close to that.
Oh, that was 9 minutes in this one. God, it took 19.
Well, that was the first open workout where I watched it and I was like, wow, they're going fast. Like, I was like, that is like suicide pace start to finish. Like, you don't often watch people at that level work out. And and I was like, wow, that is quick. And like the NFL. That kind of I mean, he beat Sprague off the road. It was never going to go well for him.
That was a bit of glory, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was a bad move on his part, but and that was cool. That put it in perspective, and like the thrown in thing he talked about in the first one.
Unbelievable.
So is that everyone's favourite CrossFitter of all time?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I watching Roman in the barn on
See,
YouTube,
that's what it
15
shows.
years ago. Like,
It shows how late I came into it, because I came into it late, like probably 2018, 19. So Fraser was my favourite, and me and you used to argue about it anyway. And then, like, I don't know what happened, but I became thrown in so quick. It was just, yeah, he's the boy.
When you released that thing, when everyone was like saying,
Oh, like,
I'm
real
like,
American.
like, our name, it was like that.
Real American hero stuff.
It's like he had like a gun over his shoulder, and he was like, the tune was playing. You were like,
oh, I think there was jets going over.
Mate, I was proud to be American, and I'm not even American. I was like singing national anthem, like voting for Trump.
yeah, we need more of that. Like that James Sprague off the back of the games. I was like, do I like this guy? I don't like this guy. I don't know if I like this guy. And then Pedro, Coffee Pods and Woods, did that thing with him at what a drunk where he was dropping his
so funny.
and he was like, oh, I can't call me the fittest on earth. And he was like, call me the fittest on. He was like, I just can't. And like, you could see that level, like personality of James Sprague came up and like.
And then he phones in to kill Taylor, doesn't he? And wins that. It's like, he just got some.
If he can take the mick out of himself,
Yeah.
you're good to me.
Yeah.
You're not taking it that seriously. Like now you're a personable human.
Yeah.
In fact.
Yeah. Right. So in closing, I forgot to do it at the start, but my last guest always leaves a question for the next guest. Since I've got multiple, it's a pretty easy one as well. It's quite a quick one. It's Georgia Davenport. She left it and she said, what is the movement you want to see come up in every workout? So I'll just let all three of you give me that.
In every workout.
Well, like if you could, your wheelhouse, I guess. What's the movement? Like mine would be like a C2 bike, if that's in the workout. I'm pretty happy.
That's what you want to see.
Yeah, that's all I did in lockdown. Was pedal that and the bike.
Toast bar.
Toast
I've got like a really long body and like really short legs, so it's just.
Yeah.
But then conversely, like an ab mat sip's impossible because the longest going.
So we've got C2 bar, we've got toast bar,
All balls for me.
I got a row 6 foot
Yeah.
and change like.
Good for you.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't a tall person's open for the first 2 workouts, that's for sure.
And then Jamie, can you leave me, because it was meant to be you we were doing, but we took this opportunity to get everyone on. Can you leave me a question for the next guest? Anything at all. Doesn't have to be fitness related.
Oh my god.
On the spot.
How much time do we have?
If anyone else has got one.
Bit of a boring one. I don't know. Maybe it's not, but just like asking that person where they would want to see CrossFit in the next 12 months. Because I think it's just good to get everyone's opinion on what they think they would like to see change. It's not the most fun, like. Sorry.
Well, good. So, Jamie, Gareth, Joe, thanks for your time. And yeah, nice work, guys.
Man, thank you. Cheers.
Yeah, man, let's do it.
We're doing it. We're doing all in one.